Last time a child was accused of murder. Don't ask me why. Court is now in session for... How do I say that? Machi to buy, Your Honor. Right, his trial. Court is in session. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is A-OK, Herr Judge. Very well, Prosecutor Gavin. My opening statement, yeah? No, actually. There was something else I wanted to ask you about. Yes? Say you're going to visit someone in the hospital with an incurable disease. What do you say to them? Eh? I mean, you wouldn't say get well soon, right? You'd only be kicking them when they're down. What are you talking about? Actually, I was going to visit someone who is terminally ill. Right after this trial, the Chief Justice's son. The Chief Justice? His son is afflicted with the most terrible disease. He doesn't have it long, it seems. Ah, so I thought I'd go pay him a visit. I thought saying something moving might be the order of the day.
Why don't grown-ups ever just say what's on their mind instead of pretending?
She's looking at me with something like disgust. Hey, what are you looking at me like that for? In any case, I'm a bit busy today, so let's wrap this up quickly. Oh gosh. Prosecutor Gavin, your opening statement. Briefly.
You're in luck, Herr Judge. I believe you'll be going to the hospital sooner than you think. First, to review the victim in this case, Romain Letus? I don't know. Age 35. The global manager for diva songstress Lumiere. The cause of death? Blood loss due to being shot by a large caliber revolver. This report has all the details.
The court accepts this into evidence. 45 caliber. That's quite large, isn't it? Yeah, like literally you're accusing a child. A direct hit from that could knock a man off his feet.
However, the bullet struck him in his shoulder. The damage to the body was slight. Death was not immediate.
Sadly, his blood loss was such that he could not be saved because we don't know to compress the wound. I suppose the victim's condition could have been much worse considering.
2 shots were fired. One shot missed, the other penetrated and passed through the victim's shoulder. Both bullets were found in the wall at the scene. Observe the diagram. This is where the bullets hit.
I see, the court accepts this evidence. If we're talking about a 45 caliber revolver, we must assume that the killer was adept at the weapon's use. Then why are you accusing a 10-year-old?
Really?
Yeah, apparently weapons that size have a powerful kickback. If, say, the judge tried to fire one, it'd break every bone in his body. The defense will take more care in choosing examples.
As I was saying, the victim was shot backstage in a dressing room. This dressing room has only one entrance, this door.
That does seem to be the case, yes.
However, there were witnesses who heard the gunshots.
He's talking about you and Emma, huh?
Yet, when the witness entered the room, it was empty, save for the victim's body, of course.
But that's impossible.
Exactly. This murder was impossible. For all but one person.
One person?
That is, of course, the defendant, Machi Tabai.
Only this defendant could have committed the crime? But how?
It's quite simple. The circumstances of the crime make it clear.
Very well, I assume you have testimony to back up this claim. Please show the witness to the stand.
Bro.
Oh my gosh, Emma.
Your name and profession, please.
Those two are so funny.
Emma Sky. I'm a detective for the police department. I was on security detail at the concert forum last night.
Emma seems tired somehow. Security at the concert, you say?
Some security I was. Couldn't even stop a murder.
Now, don't blame yourself. Things like this happen. I've made even bigger mistakes in my career, you know? I'm sure that makes her feel much better.
I want to hear about these bigger mistakes. In any case, because you were on security detail, the crime was quickly discovered, and we were able to identify the killer. You may give the court your testimony if you would. Describe the circumstances of that day and your discovery of that crime, please. All right.
Witness testimony.
The night of the murder, I was on security backstage, at Prosecutor Gavin's request. Only people involved with the concert in some way were allowed backstage. At the beginning of the third set, I heard shots. I went into the room, filled with blaring rock music, and found the body. I examined the scene and determined that only the defendant could have done it.
It was lucky the detective was the first on the scene.
But that door was the only way out of the room, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Then I don't get it. How could they say that Machi did it?
Looks like we need a bit more information. Very well, the defense may begin the cross-examination. How could you know something like that?
As I said, it was clear from the circumstances. Listen, we know there was only one exit from the room, that door. The small window only opened a tiny crack, and I was standing in front of that door. So how could the killer have fled the scene? There's only one possibility, the air vent.
Oh. But the air vent was too small. Who could possibly...
Exactly. There's certainly no way you could get through, nor me. The only one who could fit through was a child.
A child?
Remember, access to those rooms was limited. Only those involved with the concert were allowed. And of all the people involved with the concert, only one is small enough to be considered a child.
The defendant.
The pixie of Arpeggio flitted up toward the sky and disappeared from the scene of the crime.
Objection!
But that's just conjecture.
Oh, there was no other way out of that room. You were there. You should know, Air Forehead. And there's another vital piece of evidence.
Evidence? What?
Marks were found on the air vent grill. Traces that it had recently been opened.
Wait, what?
And something else was found quite clearly. The defendant, Machi Tabai's fingerprints.
What? Okay, kids. But, you know, can we talk about the fact that this child would not have been able to shoot that gun? Is that ever gonna come up?
The air vent was the only way out of the room. The defendant's fingerprints were found on the grill. Well, Air Forehead, what fairy tale does this suggest to you? Only one could pass through that vent, that doorway to heaven. And that one is our pixie.
Why are you looking at me, Apollo? Hey, I was out whooping it up in the audience. So this was his decisive evidence. Quite decisive indeed. No, it's not. It's all conjecture. I know the circumstances under which the body was found. I was there.
An examination of the crime scene was enough to nail down the killer?
I'm sure they have a really good reason. They must have had a good reason to arrest Machi. I believe that's enough of that. The prosecution has a rather convincing case. The only way in and out of the crime scene was watched, making the defendant the only one who could possibly leave the scene. Simple and decisive, but he couldn't carry the murder weapon. Are we forgetting this? I believe we've heard enough to determine our verdict, even if I wasn't in a hurry to make a hospital visit.
I'm sure the Chief Justice will appreciate the gesture.
Unfortunately, we have no direct witnesses.
Fortunately, the criminal left decisive evidence. That will be enough.
It can't be over already. Very well, I believe this trial is finished. The defense has no contradicting evidence.
The prosecution has presented our proof, clear and plain. If you have contradicting evidence, it better be clear and plain.
Apollo, they've got us on the ropes already. We better come up with something quick. I know. What can get us out of this? We need evidence or a witness. Mr. Justice, do you have contradicting proof that can overturn the prosecution's case? This is it, and so soon. If I mess this one up, it's all over. Prosecutor Gavin, you claim there are no witnesses to this crime. Are you absolutely sure?
Absolutely. I'd swear it on my career as a prosecutor. And on my million-seller hit, Strong. I
can't English. There he goes again. That's too bad, because there was a witness. Oh, really now? Well, how did you come to possess knowledge the prosecution clearly does not? Because I am the only one in the world who knows this. Yeah, we know his dying words.
The witness is... Siren.
Siren? What? The victim said this before he died.
Perhaps he did, and perhaps he did not.
What do you mean by that?
All we know is what Air Forehead says he said. It's no testimony, especially since it comes from the defense attorney himself.
Objection!
But it's the truth. He said it. I even told you about it. But apparently you ignored me completely.
It's my policy to fully investigate everything I deem relevant. Clearly this rookie lawyer thinks he can tell me how to do my job.
That's enough. Mr. Justice, we need clear contradictory proof from you. This witness of yours unknown to the prosecution. I hope you're right. Failure carries a stiff penalty.
Perhaps a stiffer penalty than usual is called for?
There's no backing out now. Gadur. It's what's her face?
This chick.
Take that!
Lumiere? The siren. Aha! He meant the siren. That's right, the siren of the ballad. Lumiere. I just keep saying it that way. Lumiere was the only on stage for the second set, and she had access to the backstage area. She could have been a witness. I see. Well, Prosecutor Gavin? My claim still stands. There was no witness to this crime. Very well, let's hear it from the horse's mouth then, shall we? We will now take a break from Detective Emma Sky's cross-examination. Please show Lumiere to the witness stand. Lumiere would say nothing the night of the murder. Not today, though. Today we'll drag that story out of her no matter what it is. It's my distinct honor to welcome the siren of the ballad to our courtroom. You are too kind. You can speak English. Yes, I can. Though I'm not very good. There is much I do not know. You speak so well. Have you spent time here before? Actually, I do not know how I came by my knowledge of your language, nor where I studied it. What does she mean she doesn't know? I too thought to call her as a witness, but I did not. I had a reason, of course. What's that? Lumiere suffers from amnesia. What? Lumiere is not my true name. Yet I remember nothing of the time before I was given it. Nothing of the time before I started singing on stage. Whoa, she's even more mysterious than I thought. As a lauded singer, Lumiere, she lives a good life. There are little difficulties for her thanks to her success. Yet, I did not wish to subject her to unnecessary stress. I see. I care surprisingly little about people's past. You have nothing to fear in this court, Lumiere. Thank you. Yet there's still something I do not understand. I'm being called as a witness. What might I say? No one will tell me anything about what happened. Lumiere, let me be frank. I did not want to ask you to be up here to testify. Yet that young gentleman with the wide forehead over there was adamant that you stand. Oh my. Congratulations, Apollo. You're the bad guy. Well, now that you're here, please give us your testimony. If nothing else, the sound of your voice is welcome. Tell us what you saw the night of the crime. This is about to be a bunch of baloney. As for what I saw nothing. That night, I was invited to sing on stage, and this I did. I did not return backstage after the second set. Then I was led by the police to Mr. Gavin's dressing room and told to wait there. That was where I learned that something had happened, but I wasn't told the details. Okay, I'm gonna present the brooch or whatever. I must say, you sound wonderful just testifying. I hope he was too distracted to hear what she was actually saying. There you have it, she saw nothing. Now we can only pray that the defense has the sense to admit defeat, and refrain from detaining her here longer than need be. Wow, you just got better, Apollo. Way to go. Very well, Mr. Justice. Keep it short and sweet. Lumiere wouldn't talk to me the night of the crime. She must know something, and I've got to find out what. If I go... Objection! I'm sorry, Lumiere, but I'm having trouble believing you. You remember this brooch, do you not? Why, that's Lumiere's. She was wearing it for her song. Care to add that to the testimony, Prosecutor Gavin? Ooh, what? This brooch was found after the murder took place, at the very scene of the crime. What? Lumiere, how did your brooch end up backstage if you did not go there yourself? And as Prosecutor Gavin has just told us, you had been wearing it during your performance that night. That was kind of fun. What is the meaning of this, Lumiere? Please explain. Lumiere. Okay. She says English is quite difficult. That trick's not going to work here. Your forehead may be large, but you are a lawyer, truly. But you have missed one important fact. What now? In fact, at the time of the incident, I went backstage, but only for a moment. What? Think back to the moment of the crime. You know whereof I speak. Is she really saying all that? What's she talking about, Apollo? Right when the incident occurred. Is she talking about that? Watch this room for me. I have to call for backup. Right, understood. You want me to make sure no one comes in, right? Mr. Latou, can you hear me? Cold, so cold. More of this dang scene. Yes, I know. Emma? What was that? Who's there? What's wrong? Emma, did you see anyone just now? Oh yeah, that moment, okay.
I looked into the room. Just a glance, mind you.
So this is when your brooch dropped. That explains that.
It does. There was no other time I could have dropped it.
But that's ridiculous. You only looked in for an instant, but you dropped your brooch? Air forehead. She has raised a possibility. The only thing that can counter that is evidence. So she looked into the crime scene.
Actually, I intended to go into the dressing room. I knew nothing of what had happened, of course. But the moment I opened the door, I heard a horrible voice.
Air forehead shouting who's there, no doubt. A horrible voice indeed.
I closed the door immediately.
Well, that explains the brooch. Let's return to your testimony. That's too convenient. She's hiding something. Lumiere, you did look into the room though, right?
Yes.
Testify as to what you saw.
Very well, though it was only the briefest of glimpses.
Why did her mouth stop? I saw nothing.
Gotcha!
The late Mr. Latu's body, you say? Did her mouth, like, stop?
Yes?
You know something more about Mr. Latu's death than you were saying.
What?
I could see you trying not to remember. But the effort you made you swallow, that's what she was doing? I can't believe I caught that. I'm getting better at this. You can't fool my eyes.
It is true. It was so terrible after all. Why did Mr. Latu have to be shot?
One moment, Lumiere.
Yes?
What was that you just said? Why did Mr. Latu have to be shot?
Yes?
She was hiding something, I knew it. Lumiere, I'm afraid you haven't realized it, but your words just now contradict your testimony.
Huh? How could that be?
Take this. Lumiere contradicted her own testimony, and I have evidence to prove it. She said she wasn't there. Right? Oh, she wouldn't have been able to see it, right?
Take that!
Nope. Okay.
Your evidence is meaningless.
Wrong evidence. Oh, Gadur, because she didn't know. I'm so stupid.
Take that!
I didn't realize that was there. Tell me, Lumiere, how did you know he had been shot? Yeah, I forgot that was there. Immediately following the incident, a gag order was placed on the scene. This is the document proving that. In your testimony, you told the court. No one told me anything about the incident. Furthermore, you testified that you had seen nothing. Yet you knew that Mr. Latu had been shot? How could you have known? I don't want to scream. Boom. I did that one on my own. Lumiere, you cannot fight my powers of perception. My perception outdoes your deception any day. You aren't hiding something from this court, I hope.
Now I remember. Please, allow me to add to my testimony.
Of course. All we want to know is the truth. She looks kind of pale, huh? She saw something, I know it. Even the victim said so. Oh yeah, you can see the door opens that way. Stupid.
Objection!
Stupid. Lumiere, they call you the siren of the ballad, but lies are hardly becoming of such a creature. A put-down worthy of our prosecutor, Mr. Justice.
Such put-downs are hardly becoming of you, Apollo.
Stop polishing your forehead and start polishing your character, Shia. Come on, can I be cool for once? Observe the diagram. Lumiere, you looked in from the door for just a moment, correct?
Yes, that is so.
There were bullet holes in the room, yes. But they were on the wall the door is on. You see, assuming you merely glanced into the room, you couldn't have seen those bullet holes. Stupid. Lumiere.
Yes.
I'm afraid the defense has raised a good point. It appears you have been holding back something.
And I must tell you what it is that I saw.
Yes, the happenings in this trial are being recorded, and I'm certain it will be in the news in Virginia. You understand your reputation is at stake. It falls to you to avoid tarnishing it. Personally speaking, I still believe that cross-examining her will yield us absolutely nothing. But she knew how Mr. Latouche died, and he named her as a witness. You must have seen something, Lumiere. Very well. Lumiere, I apologize for my pronunciation. Please continue your testimony.
Very well, I shall. I was on my way back from the stage to the backstage exit. There's something like a little window there. That's how I saw it. There were 2 shots, and I couldn't do anything to stop it. But it wasn't Machi. It was a grown person. I know it was.
So you did witness the crime, and the killer was a grown person, you say? This is my first time hearing this, I assure you. Nice play, Air Forehead. Very well, Air. Mr. Justice, you may begin your cross-examination.
Great going, Apollo. You were right about Lumiere. What's wrong? You don't look too happy.
This whole thing smells fishy. That's what's wrong.
Hold it!
How? A grown person. That's a little vague.
I'm sorry, my skill with your language is lacking, I know.
Certainly you could at least see whether the shooter was male or female.
It was a man, a young man.
And you're sure of that?
Yes, his voice was quite clear.
Voice? Looking at this diagram, it seems the dressing room was quite cluttered. It does seem likely that you wouldn't have had a clear view of the shooter.
As a singer, I rely more on my ears than my eyes. When I hear a voice, I do not forget it. That voice was the voice of a man.
So you heard a voice, but wait. Couldn't that have been the victim, Mr. Latouche?
Absolutely not. Did I not just say that I do not forget a voice?
If it was the Mr. Latouche who spoke, I would have known. Indeed. So you were at the window and you heard the shooter's voice, the voice of a young man.
Apollo, this is a good testimony. That proves it wasn't Machi.
Indeed. If this turns out to be true, it would cast this case into a considerably different light. What is the defense's opinion? Though it pains me to say this, there's something about Lumiere's testimony that rings false. Bravo, Air Forehead. You're colder than I thought. I'm sure you remember what the problem is as well as I do, Gavin. As has been established, no grown man could pass through that air vent. He couldn't have fled the scene of the crime.
But that means Lumiere has to be lying.
I know, and I know it's bad for our case, but I can't shut my eyes to this. Believe me, the idea was tempting. It is as Air Forehead says, yet this is not the only contradiction within her testimony. What next?
What's he talking about?
Lumiere, I understand why you would want to protect Machi. Yet remember, you are the siren of the ballad, and lives do not become such a creature. What does the prosecution mean?
Apollo, what's he talking about?
How come no one bats an eye when he says stuff like that? I recall the state of the crime scene quite well. The state of the room? Yes, and when the murder took place, that window was closed. I find it hard to believe you could hear a voice through it.
What? But I'm sure...
Lumiere, I have nothing but the highest regard for your musical sense. But my opinion of you as a witness is somewhat lesser.
Objection!
But she's the only eyewitness we have.
Objection!
So you say, the victim named her the siren as the witness.
That's right. That's what Mr. Latouche...
We heard your claim. We even entertained the possibility, and it brought us to this. Air Judge. Yes? The prosecution requests that the witness be excused. Please. I'm afraid I must honor the prosecution's request. There is indeed a question of the witness's credibility.
But if Lumiere can't testify, we don't have a chance of proving Machi's innocence.
Except by showing them the gun and that Machi wouldn't have been able to shoot it. This cross-examination is over. Prosecutor Gavin, you may continue making your case.
Thank you. Now where were we? Ah, yes. I would like to hear from Fraulein Detective again.
Objection!
Wait, let me hear Lumiere's testimony one last time. The cross-examination is already over, unless such a time as need arises. This witness may leave the stand.
I'm sorry I could not be of more assistance. At last, back to the real trial. Ready, Air Forehead?
I hope I didn't just miss my only chance.
Fraulein Detective, how far had we gotten until we were so rudely interrupted? Don't ask me. I dislike you saying that. I never repeat a song for encore.
If you would, Miss Skye.
I believe I was saying that the only way Mr. Latou's killer could have escaped was through that air vent on the ceiling.
Yes, there was only one door in her room. What if someone just hid? Ever thought of that? And a witness, you say, was standing in front of it.
That air vent isn't very big, see? Kind of limits the people who could possibly get through.
I certainly would have a difficult time.
You sure would. Not that you would have been there in the first place, though. Remember, the whole backstage area was off limits to people not involved with the concert. The only one who meets the conditions of our killer is the defendant.
The virtuoso performance couldn't have put it better myself. She does state a clear case, though, reading the report, something caught my eye.
Oh, what's that?
The circumstances of the defense's arrest.
The circumstances? Again? Hey, that's right, Apollo. Remember when we found Machi? That was bizarre.
She's right. Why did Mr. Latou's body disappear from the room? And end up on top of the stage tower? Holding up a guitar, no less.
A perceptive observation, Air Judge.
Thanks. It was kind of an accident, really. But you work in this job long enough. You get a nose for things.
The judge sure seems pleased with himself. Very good, Fraulein Detective. Perhaps you could tie it in all together for us. Why was the body moved? And how does that lead us to the killer? I believe Machi stole the body because of some lyrics. He moved the body to match Lumiere's song. No one in this country had a motive to kill the victim, and Machi practically left his signature at the scene. All of this evidence clearly points to the defendant.
Lumiere's song?
Yeah, the guitar serenade. You noticed it's code too, did you not?
It's code.
All the events that day followed the lyrics to her song. First, the keys my heart held on so tightly were stolen. Then Prosecutor Gavin's guitar burst into flames on stage.
I didn't realize it was me reading it.
Mr. Latou's life was taken by a bullet. The rest hardly needs explanation. Guitar, guitar, up together to the sky.
That's mad. It's like a story out of some fairy tale. I admit I'd forgotten about the song. There it is now, waiting for me, the grand finale as it were.
Hey, you know I was the one who first noticed that.
I've heard of jumping rope to songs and counting to songs. But killing?
It's a wild world out there, Ed Judge.
Very well, we've heard one song and dance. Let's get on to the next, the cross-examination.
I'm not so sure I'm going to be doing much singing.
How? He's a tiny boy. Does the prosecution have any idea why he did all this? Or how? How about the how?
You want my scientific opinion? No clue. But he clearly had a reason to go through all that trouble. Some deep reason.
A deep reason.
Not only did he steal my keys, he torched my guitar. Unforgivable acts even if he had a reason, and worse if he had none. The Diva's complaints aside, I can't imagine someone doing this just on a whim.
Fraulein Detective, I take offense to that description. Indeed, it does seem too well rehearsed.
Yes, this crime was planned for sure.
Hold it!
But Mr. Latou spoke English. He may have come to this country before.
I looked into that, I assure you.
Oh?
It was his first time in the country, it seems. Apparently he learned English on his own.
Great.
You see, no one here had a motive to kill him, and certainly not in such an elaborate fashion.
It does seem difficult to imagine.
Unless our famous prosecutor did it as a publicity stunt.
What did you say? Prosecutor Gavin, you did this to promote your song. I don't think he did it. I don't know, his bandmate might have though.
Of course not, and I'm quite dismayed by the ludicrous nature of the claim. Why would I need a promotion? Everyone already listens to my music. They're even in my textbook at school.
I never heard of them. What does it say about me?
I was just kidding. Don't get it all worked up, Glimmer Boy.
She's so funny.
Hold it!
What do you mean by the signature?
The bullet holes in the wall, of course.
The bullet holes?
The revolver was fired twice. One shot missed and left a hole in the wall.
And that means what exactly?
The dressing room isn't exactly spacious. Picture the shooter facing off with the victim in there. They can't have been more than 5 feet apart. It would be too difficult. Impossible to miss at that range.
Difficult to miss, you say?
Very. Assuming the shooter could properly aim.
No, you can't be serious.
Machi, he can't see. That's why he missed? It's the only explanation that makes sense. Or he's too tiny to carry a gun in the first place.
I forgot he's blind too. Like, why are we accusing this tiny blind child?
He used sound and other senses to fire the gun. Poorly. That reminds me, the monitor in that room was blaring at the time, Xia. Hardly ideal conditions for tracking by sound.
A blind shooter. No wonder he missed. I knew those bullet holes would come back to haunt me. Think justice, what do I do now? Objection. Sure, there were bullet holes left in the wall, but that doesn't prove the shooter couldn't see.
Oh, how so?
Well, there could have been a struggle with the victim. That's certainly possible. And it might have been the revolver's fault. Oh, finally, someone's bringing it up. The revolver. The revolver was a very large caliber, correct? The shooter wasn't used to firing such a weapon. Why, it could dislocate their shoulder. Exactly. The defendant, Machi Dabai, is, as you see, tiny. It's not so hard to picture him firing the gun and missing entirely. The kickback alone would throw off his aim. A convincing argument, to be sure. Take that, smug prosecution.
Apollo?
Huh? What?
That bit about Machi being tiny. And the gun throwing off his aim? Aren't you kind of, admitting that he did it?
Oh.
It does not matter why he missed. What matters is the shooter was, without a doubt, the defendant. Even the defense seems to agree on that point.
Cripes, I really put my foot in it this time. Let's get to the facts of the matter on the record, if you would, Fraulein Detective. Very well, the witness will add this to her testimony.
Right.
Hold it!
You can't say he was blind just because those bullet holes in the wall. I think I've proven that.
I wouldn't call it proof, per se.
Huh?
You've merely raised a possibility. Fraulein Detective has made a most logical conjecture based upon the evidence, except for the fact that that tiny blind child could not shoot that gun. Of course, there's more evidence than just bullet holes. The defendant was the only one who could have escaped through the air vents.
Objection!
But wait, if he was blind, how would he know about the air vent in the first place?
Very good point. Well, Fraulein Detective, if you would care to explain.
Yeah, that's a great point. He certainly seems sure of himself.
Recall the crime scene, if you would. There was a stepladder below the air vent. As it happens, maintenance was scheduled for that day. Custodial staff went around checking all the air vents.
I don't believe it.
Everyone backstage was told about the maintenance, including Machi Dabai. He would have known that there was a way out at the top of that stepladder.
But that's... Why is this the first time I'm hearing about this?
You could have figured it out by yourself. You only needed to consider what that stepladder was doing there.
Looks like the defense's objection is squished by a stepladder. Been squished.
Well, Air Forehead? Out of ammunition, perhaps.
I've never seen Prosecutor Gavin so aggressive towards a blind 10-year-old. Maybe he's caught the scent of blood. Apollo, don't you have something? Anything? You know what we need? We need something to prove the killer could see. That'll put him in his place. Proving the shooter was sighted would do it. That would take down one of their central points. Do I have any evidence that can prove that, though? Maybe.
Fine, I accept the prosecution's challenge. As I knew you would, Air Forehead. What exactly am I up against here? The prosecution is saying the shooter missed because they couldn't see. Therefore, Machi, who is blind, did it. The defense will please present their evidence. Like, guaranteed. Oh wait, they wiped away the message he wrote.
Take that!
This is that evidence! The photograph of the crime scene. I forgot they wiped away the message he wrote. I don't care much for the smirk on Prosecutor Gavin's face, but this is no time to think twice. Time to press on. Yes, Your Honor, the crime scene. There's something in here that decisively contradicts the prosecution's point. And perhaps you'd best show us this something? Get your finger out of the breeze and put it to good use, yeah. Cha. Very well, show us what you're talking about, Mr. Justice. It's right here.
Take that!
The contradiction is right here. The smeared bloodstains.
I thought it was just my blurry vision, but it really was blurry. The way the victim's hand is raised above his head, much like a gesture I have seen many times in this court.
It's almost as if he wrote something. Huh, I get it. At least I think I get it. Get what, Fraulein?
Am I saying that right? I just thought about that.
When Mr. Lutus was shot, he tried to write something. And what would he write but the shooter's name? And what would he write in it but his own blood? Pretty good, huh?
Thanks for making my point for me. Yes, in fact, that's what I was thinking happened here. That does seem to be a distinct possibility.
The victim wrote the killer's name. It's certainly a logical conclusion. Drat, I just wish it wasn't all rubbed out like that.
Of course it's rubbed out. Why, if I were a killer, I certainly wouldn't want to leave my own name behind.
Neither would I.
No one has anything else to say. About what? So the prosecution accepts this? You agree this was the victim making an attempt to record the name of the killer, and that the killer tried to rub the name out.
What's your point?
What's my point? Let me ask you this. How did the killer know the victim was writing their name?
Well, Mr. Lutus was writing something in blood. Once the killer saw what it was... Wait.
Once he saw what it was. But what did you just testify about the shooter?
I said they were blind. Oh.
Yet the crime scene itself contradicts that. The killer had to have been able to see you. Why would they rub out the name in blood otherwise? May I remind the court that the defendant, Machi Tabai, is blind? He couldn't have been the shooter.
Impossible!
It's impossible that it's a 10-year-old boy. Order! Prosecutor Gavin, please explain to me what all this means. I mean, looking at this photo, it seems quite clear that the shooter could see. Up until now...
It seems I owe the court an apology. The Gaviners are such a band with law enforcement ties, yet a murder occurred during our concert. Apparently this caused some confusion over jurisdiction. As a result, some reports were not filed in an entirely timely manner.
I'm not sure I like the vibe I'm getting here.
Hey, Apollo, look at him. Why is Prosecutor Gavin all relaxed and smiling like that? Like he knows something we don't. And he's about to tell us.
I've got an idea. Let's rock. With these documents before that. I have a question for Fraulein Detective, if I may.
What?
Tell me, why do you think that Machi Tabai is blind? What did he say? Don't tell me the kid can see.
What are you saying?
Of course he's blind.
Of course. He's the blind pianist, right? So he's... Doesn't Lemire lead him around by the hand all the time?
No way. I have a report here on the defendant, Machi Tabai. According to this, Machi Tabai can see perfectly well.
What?
His blindness is merely a publicity ploy by those clever Borginians. He can see quite well.
Objection!
But you said... What did I say exactly? Air Forehead, not once in the course of this trial have I claimed the defendant was blind. The only one who did that was Fraulein Detective. But that's... a significant fact, yes. Consider, Machi Tabai sees, and he was the only one who could have fled through the vent. I see no problems with this.
But what about the bullet holes in the wall? Yes, the bullet holes. I believe Air Forehead neatly explained those for us. He didn't miss because he couldn't see. It was the kickback from the .45 caliber revolver. A simple accident, in other words. Check on the boy's shoulder. How's that? I'm afraid your objection has just flown off for brighter skies. This is where the real fun begins, Air Forehead. Objection! No objections. I knew you didn't have what it took. You jerk. Just what was I in here for? Comic relief? Yeah, apologize. Sorry. That's no way to apologize. He's angered the Trucy now. Look out.
If we can please end the bickering, now.
Whatever. I'm not leaving. I can't leave like this. I'll come up with some clue to solving this case if it kills me.
But your testimony has already given us enough to convict the defendant.
Don't say that.
Haha, what?
This blood stain. The criminal tried to wipe it off, right?
That seems to be what happened, yes.
We might be able to find out what was really written into here.
Really? You can do that?
That's right. With this. It's called Lumino. Maybe you've heard of it? It's a chemical that reacts to blood.
Ah, yes. Have we done these tests yet?
As if I'm gonna tell you.
The blood stains covering this section of the carpet. In order to perform blood tests, the section was removed and submitted. Perhaps we should request it in here in court. Please don't say his name.
Right, go for it, Apollo.
I have to do the test?
You just have to spray the luminol on it. Simple.
A chemical that reacts to blood. I've heard of this somewhere. Yes, I believe an analysis is called for. Have at it.
Right, ready? It's easy as pie. Press space to spray the area. Here, give it a try.
The eyes of the entire court are focused on me.
Apollo, your hand's shaking.
Let's do this. Wow, it really works.
This must be the power of science. It says IPXX314206.
Is that the killer's name? Maybe it is if the killer was a robot.
I have it.
So what is it?
I thought those letters IPXX looked familiar. This is an Interpol ID number.
Interpol?
You mean the International Police Agency? It was his friend! I'm telling you! He's guilty!
Yeah, most are undercover agents working to solve international crimes. Why would he write that number? Why would Mr. Latouche even know a number like that?
Good show, friendly detective. Rock on.
Huh?
Your Honor, we can verify this number immediately. Darian, are you there? Come up to the witness stand. I knew it.
Murderer.
Darian, you heard what we need. Go check into this Interpol ID number.
Sure thing. Give me 30 minutes? No, give me 27. I'm not sure what to think of all this. The prosecution's case is airtight, so it seems. Yet if this number is really that of an Interpol agent.
Oh wait, I know. What if Machi Tabai is really an undercover Interpol agent? That would be a possibility.
A possibility, yes, and one that would mark him as the killer for certain.
He's 10. Why did Latouche know an Interpol ID number? That's what I want to know. Well, we have some time when we wait for Darian's report. Let's work on unraveling another mystery, shall we? A curious mystery concerning Machi Tabai.
What are you talking about?
Frowning Detective, please accept my apologies. I received word that the defendant could, in fact, see just before the trial began. It seemed too much of a bother to tell you. You had me until the last bit. Does this not raise another straightforward question? Well, sure. Why did Machi pretend he couldn't see? Exactly. It makes little sense. What do you think, Air Forehead?
He was probably just told to by the agents.
Me? Machi Tabai pretended he was blind. Do you know why?
How could he know? What? Wait, Prosecutor Gavin knows why, doesn't he? He's known from the start of this trial. He's been leading us on the whole time.
Something wrong? Do you think perhaps this is all some kind of game? Know that the moment I heard that report, I knew why.
I suppose people who have sold over millions of records really are something else. What does that have to do with anything?
There's a reason why Machi Tabai pretended to be blind, but it wasn't for his own sake. Get in the picture now? It wasn't for himself?
Well, Mr. Justice, can you present evidence that shows us why the defendant had to feign blindness? No idea. I have no idea.
Air forehead, I'm disappointed in you. Unless you're merely feigning stupidity, Xia.
Keep it up, wise guy.
Recall the relationship of Lumiere and Machi Tabai. In particular, their arrangement over the years before visiting our country. Lumiere and her pianist, they would always walk together, she leading him by the hand. Even when they got on stage, she would lead him to the piano. She would walk all the way over there with him. That's right, because he was blind, or so we thought. She led him at all times. All times.
All times.
Yet we now know that Machi could see perfectly well. Why keep up the charade?
Well, wasn't it part of their performance?
There is a simpler explanation, Air Judge. Machi did not need to be led by hand at all. Which means...
You don't mean...
I do. It was the other way around. The one who needed to be led by the hand was Lumiere.
What's this? So you mean to say that Lumiere is... she's...
Blind as a bat, Air Judge.
What? What?
So much for a witness.
Order. This is crazy, Prosecutor Gavin.
Yeah, wasn't she supposed to be the landscape painter in sound or something? Well, since we have her here, why not ask Lumiere herself? I believe she's still in the witnesses' waiting room.
Apollo, what does this mean for our case? Don't ask me, I had no idea she couldn't see. Hadn't even imagined it till now. Bailiff, bring in Lumiere. I'm glad they didn't make me present evidence, because I'm like, I don't know.
Lumiere, it pains me deeply to call you before us again in this way. Yet I must. Please do not be concerned on my behalf.
Those eyes, she really can't see? Really?
It is true. How funny it is that a tiny lie born in Borginian countryside would one day grow to entangle the entire world.
So you are...
Yes, as I mentioned before, I have no memory of the time before I became Lumiere. Note too that my memories begin in darkness. The word light has no meaning for Lumiere.
I see.
You may recall saying something towards the beginning of this trial, Air Forehead.
What's that?
I believe I said it was unfortunate this crime had no direct witnesses. Now, Lumiere, I must ask you to stand once more. Will you testify to the court about your eyes? Of course. It was never my intention to deceive any of you. May I begin, Your Honor?
Yes, of course. Though I admit I'm a little lost here. I think we're all a little bit lost here, Your Honor.
I've no memory of the light. I debuted on the world of darkness and sound. My producer came up with my PR line before he knew this. So silly as it may sound, I had to pretend I could see. Everyone on my staff knew, of course, but no others.
But this is a murder trial.
I apologize, it was part of my contract, you see. I was to keep my blindness a secret, no matter what. Music is everything for me. I never imagined something like this would... She told us the truth in the beginning, when she said she saw nothing.
Very well. Does the defense have anything to add? I'd like to cross-examine. But what is there left to ask? There is one thing in her testimony that bothered me.
Perhaps it's best we let you get it out of your system. Someday you'll come to understand the importance of thinking for yourself.
Very well, the defense may proceed. However, be aware this court will not tolerate any questions deemed too stressful to the witness. Okay. There's only one part that bothered me. Just let me ask about that and I'll be happy.
Hold it!
When you say your staff, do you include Mr. Letus?
Of course, he was my manager.
So he knew, and that's what's been bugging me. Something the matter, Mr. Justice?
I believe I know what is bothering our young defense attorney. You are thinking of when you discovered the body, yes?
Is he right, Apollo? Yes, I was. Mr. Letus told me to ask the witness and he named you. Why would he do that? He knew you were blind.
I don't know. What did I just say? You need to learn to think for yourself.
Meaning what?
There's no mystery here if you recall everything he said. Can't see. Think of his last words once more.
The witness, Siren? We've heard them many times, along with a little play acting by our defense. I remember them well myself, but that statement is not what I refer. I mean what he said before that. Before? Can't see. That's right, he tried to tell you. When he said can't see, he wasn't... Hello? He wasn't talking about himself. He was talking about the witness. I see. Too bad the defense didn't figure that out. Well, Air Forehead, try relaxing and looking at the facts first next time. That's what I mean, I was on it. He's flabbergasted. Order. Recall Lemire's earlier testimony. I was on my way. There were 2 shots. I couldn't do anything to stop it. But she couldn't have heard those gunshots. I thought we proved that. That is not the most important point here. The moment he was shot, Mr. Latouche witnessed her through that window. Why else would he have named her as the witness?
But I really did hear them. 2 gunshots and the man's voice.
Unfortunately, such a thing was impossible. The window was closed. We've already run a simulation, of course.
But it was so clear. If I heard the voice again, I'd know it in an instant.
Your Honor. What is it, bailiff? Can't you see we're in session here? We had the results back from the investigation. It's probably that weird guy that kept appearing. The investigation.
Ah, the Interpol number that Mr. Latouche left us.
Well, let's hear it. We will continue this cross-examination afterward. Detective Creston, your report, please. I asked Interpol about that number. I'm sure you'll find their answer intriguing.
Quick words as always, Darian.
Well, tell us about the number. Is the defendant a secret agent? The agent registered under this number was Romain Latouche.
What?
Our undercover Interpol agent was Mr. Latouche himself. He was apparently in the middle of an operation. So, when he wrote those letters, he was trying to tell us his own identity. And a cautious killer tried to wipe them away.
Mr. Latouche was an undercover Interpol agent. So him being Lemire's manager
was just a cover, most likely. There's one other important detail I found. Well, out with it. It concerns that .45 caliber revolver, the murder weapon. Apparently it belonged to Romain Latouche. He had an Interpol permit to carry firearms, and the registration number on the revolver matched. So the victim was killed with his own weapon, which makes sense. It's hard to imagine someone who wasn't an Interpol agent with such a large revolver. So the victim was an Interpol agent on an undercover op. I wonder how that ties into everything.
It's gotta tie in somehow, you'd think. Yeah, somehow.
Thanks for looking into that for us, Detective Crescent. It's a great help. Ah, no problem at all, Your Honor. I'll be heading out.
Wait.
Lemire, is something the matter?
That voice just now.
I knew it! I knew it. I played enough of these games. Darian?
Mr. Darian, is it? It was him.
I called it. I called it. There's a new ace attorney in town.
It was him. I'm sure of it.
It was him. You are insane.
That voice I heard talking to Mr. Latouche. When I heard the gunshots fired, it was him. It was Mr. Darian.
Is this some kind of joke? Calm down, boy. I called this like when I first met him. Like you're suspicious. What? No way. I called it. The courtroom fell into such a chaotic state, the trial had to be suspended temporarily. I'd never seen that happen before. Of course, it's not every day that you get an accusation like that one. Lemire fingering Darian Crescent. Not only is he a guitarist, he's a detective. Could it really have been his voice Lemire heard? Things were changing fast, and frankly, I wasn't sure I could keep up with it. Hey, no whipping out now, Apollo. I called it. We'll see you next time.